Hey everyone, Mr. Happy here, and welcome to Mondays with Mr. Happy, aka Mr. Happy Mondays, a weekly Q&A show where you ask me questions and I answer them. We got a couple of things to go over before we get into the Q&A. Number one, I want to make sure I mention this right away. I have a giveaway running for about another week. Oh, hi Ivy, you want to get in on this? For those who don't know, I've been sponsored by SteelSeries for years and years, and I didn't work too closely with them this last year in 2024 compared to previous years. However, that's going to be changing in 2025, and we're going to be sending out 2024 with a bang. Doing a giveaway for a mouse, a keyboard, a headset, and a mouse pad. And yeah, there's going to be a link for that in pretty much every video, including this one. I forgot to include it in State of the Realm when I initially posted it, but I promise I will remember it in the description for this one. On top of that, Magic Spoon's going to be sponsoring this video again, just like last week, so the ad is going to play when I'm done with all my announcements here. Appreciate all y'all for, allowing that and using it and clicking it, because they've been sponsoring me for ages and ages. So there's our sponsor section for the start of the video. Be sure to click those links and get in on the goodness. Other than that, this week is going to be largely about chaotic. I'm expecting at least 3 videos, one on the first chaotic clear, one on a guide, and one on a thoughts video. I guess 4, because on State of the Realm this week, which is on my birthday, we're going to be talking about that as well. So it's going to be a very chaotic week. Probably a few more Final Fantasy XIV mobile videos, and I really want to get a Path of Exile video out. Just one that talks about my experience as someone who did not have a ton of time with Path of Exile 1. In fact, only played it in the very, very early days and has not touched it since. So about 9 years probably since the last time I played Path of Exile 1. And my feeling on Path of Exile 2, things that I like, things that I don't like, etc., etc., because I have been playing it a lot. I'm on my tier 13 Waystones. If I put more time, I'd definitely be on my tier 15 stuff right now, but I haven't had all the time in the world. It's been very, very busy last few weeks. But that's everything for the start. So one last thing, thanks to the sponsors over on Patreon. Here, Ivy's here to thank you as well. See? Look at her. Hey. Yeah, there you go. Thanks to the sponsors over on Patreon for supporting. It's optional. All my content's free. There's literally nothing pay-gated on Patreon, but for some people that still support over there, I'd just like to say thank you. So we'll let the Magic Spoon ad play, and then we'll get to the Q&A. Before the video kicks off, though, you guessed it, Magic Spoon is sponsoring the video. They've been on the channel for all of 2024, and can you blame me? Delicious, high-protein cereal, and with me, that's definitely important nowadays. I'm always looking for ways to change up my protein intake, and Magic Spoon offers me a nice alternative. I not only get to hit my protein goals for the day, but I get to do so with a great-tasting cereal. I also love snacking, hate to admit it, but I just substitute in Magic Spoon whenever I have it, as opposed to something like chips. You might even call me a cereal snacker. So if you'd like to try Magic Spoon while also supporting the channel, click the link below to get some today. Build a custom box of cereal with tons of available flavors and throw in some treat bars if you need something on the go. Best of all, use my link and discount code Mr. Happy to get $5 off of your box. You can also buy it at your local grocery store or even on Amazon if you'd prefer. And if you don't like it, Magic Spoon has a 100% happiness guarantee. Let them know and they'll refund you, no questions asked. So click the link below or scan the QR code on the screen and use code Mr. Happy to get $5 off, or go to magicspoon.com/Mr. Happy to save $5 on your order. It even works in Canada and the UK. Thanks again to Magic Spoon for sponsoring, and now back to the video. Man, the very first question, and I can already see it doesn't have a hello. It's gonna be one of those weeks. It's the holiday season. You'd think people would be in cheer. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Imagine your warrior of light has been adventuring for many decades and starting to slow down in his old age. How's he going to spend his retirement? Same way I spend my life, behind a desk. I never really vibe with these questions because I don't connect with my characters on that level. I kind of connect with the experience I have, but I don't like treat my character as an extension of myself. Like, I'm just playing my character. My character is me. He's no different. It's like when people ask, "Oh, if you, could live in like a fantasy, like your favorite RPG world, like which one would you live in?" I'm like, none of them. They all suck. And like, what? You wouldn't want to be like this or that? And I'm like, no, you're gonna die. Like, you're still playing that character. You're still that person. Like, just because you're in the world doesn't mean you're suddenly more capable. If you're a pussy, you're still a pussy if you go into a video game. Like, you're not braver all of a sudden if like that's your reality, right? Because if it's your reality, it means you're gonna die. I'm too rational about it. I take all the fun out of it. So stuff like this, it's like, what's my character gonna do? He's just gonna eat, and he's just gonna go like eat nice food and like hang out. Like, that's all he's gonna do. He's not gonna make anything of his retirement. He just wants to survive, man. That's all there is to it. There's nothing else for it. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hi, hello, and well met. See, we got a couple extras here, thankfully. Hope everything is going well. It is. I'm a little tired today, but nothing too bad. Even though we're only at 7.15, everyone's already got their eyes on 8.0. Yeah, same thing happened with N-Walk. No, it's happened to literally every expansion. I don't think people understand that has happened every single expansion. Because we've, especially as time has gone on, we've gotten used to the pace at which certain changes happen. So people don't look for the very next patch to see those changes. They think like long-term when we'll see any sort of major changes. Do we know what time CPU 3 started? They've already been planning. They've already got the next 3 expansions planned out. Like at least the story or the rough direction that they'll go. They'll make adjustments and pivot as needed. But no, they've already been working on the next expansion. They basically start the next expansion while the current one is ongoing because they can't be like, oh yeah, we got like, you know, it'll just take us a few months to wrap that up. You know, just think about when we get FanFest announcements. Like they have to have already been working on all that stuff for FanFest before FanFest happens. And then FanFest is normally like a year out, the first one from the actual expansion launch. They're already working on it now. And feedback is like a non-stop thing. So it's like, keep in mind that it's not like there's a time limit on the feedback. You know what I mean? Like you just always say things and you hope for the change and that's it. Like there's not really anything more to it. That's why I keep talking about getting things like exploration content earlier in the expansions, and it's something I constantly talk about because I want that message to be constantly administered. And then if other people agree with it, they can chime in. Now, I'm not saying that Square really cares what I say as an individual, but if it's constant, you know, topic amongst not just creators, but amongst the player base. Creators are one element. The only thing a creator can do is potentially drive discussion about something that gets the average player to participate. Doesn't necessarily mean they're going to agree, because a lot of people don't like exploration content, but that's all a creator can do. They don't care about what the creator themselves, oh, this one creator said it, so let's do that. No, they don't care about that. But if we drive enough discussion and the opinion is widespread enough and is agreed upon by, you know, enough people, then you might see some degree of change. So that's all you can really do, but you don't care about a time limit. You just never stop saying it. You don't have to say it every single day, but you don't like try to time it. You know, you just keep iterating until you get what you want, hopefully. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hello, hello, hello. See, everyone else has got plenty to spare. I don't have a question. I'm just here to give you a bunch of hellos for anyone who missed it. And a Merry Christmas to you. You know what? Normally, I would not include these in the video, but because of your holiday spirit, I will accept, and Merry Christmas right back to you. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hey, Haps. Hi. Hope your holidays are going well so far. I'm just chilling. Ain't nothing special, but thank you, and same to you. With the removal of passive LB generation ultimates, if there are 2 of the same class and video circulated and passing through the tank LB3 with LB2, I've done it. I have done. We were trying to help our knights through like people who are not part of the 8 that clear the ultimate, but they like make diagrams, or they just grab information. They watch other like Twitch streams to see if there's things that we can learn from or improve or adjust. We helped get them through. And one of them, while we were helping, we didn't have LB3 going into phase 5 because something went wrong in crystalline time. And so we tried it and it worked, and we got an enrage pull out of it. So, yeah, how long do you think you'll see a clear with 2 Pictos? Probably not long. I guess it depends. No, actually it doesn't. Now, honestly, it could happen at any point. I don't know that Picto's very good for doing that, but you just need enough limit. Here's the thing. Limit break, it's passive LB generation, but you can deliberately do mitigation to such a point where you force LB generation. Honestly, a great example is Hell's Judgment going right into phase 3. Like you are put at 1 HP. That's a prime way to get LB generation. You get enough that you need, and honestly, you'll probably get some throughout the rest of the fight. You could still technically end up with an LB3 by the last phase because you don't need an LB by any other point. So honestly, maybe it's happened already. Like I don't pay attention to these things. It could have happened, but like it's gonna happen. Honestly, a 4 Picto clear is probably gonna happen at some point. That one's a little tougher because unless you are getting LB3, 4 Pictomancers is not what you want when it comes to surviving that. You want a feint and addle. You want, you know, maybe Magic Barrier from Red Mage, or, you know, Mantra to boost the shields, or Bard to boost the shields of like a scholar who's doing a deploy low, plus they have Fey illumination. Like, you're basically using nothing on polarizing strikes and then using everything on that. And timing, if you time it correctly, you can hit Pandora's box and the follow-up Fulgent Blades, because they're about, I think they're like 13 seconds apart, the hit from Pandora's box and the hit from Fulgent Blade. So you can hit both, and it's not without a reason. So those mitts don't go to waste, and then you get mitts back for the Akmorns that will come a little bit later. But yeah, no, this really won't take that long, I imagine. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. First and foremost, hello. So you scared me for a second there. Hope you're having a nice day and hype for Chaotic. I am. I'm very excited. Hopefully we can breeze through it and give everyone some peace of mind, showing them all the mechanics, reminding them this is effectively an extreme trial for 24 people. It's not like it's going to be an ultimate or anything. Quick question, where do I spend my poetic... What do I spend... Oh, no, where do I spend my poetics tomes on? I was like, wait, oh, the on is for what? Sorry. I don't English very well, but sometimes I notice things and my brain just goes that way. Anything worth buying or selling? Well, I mean, there's all of the relics in the game. That's what I spent my poetics on. There's a few things. One of the more popular ones is you buy the unidentified items from the Anima Weapon quest, and you can actually exchange those for topsoils, which people who are doing gardening are going to purchase. You, of course, could use them yourself. That's an option. You can also just straight up buy items and then either desynth them, level them with desynth. You could exchange them for Grand Company seals, which you could then turn into whatever, like ventures or the loot boxes or whatever. There's a few other options that you can do. A few other popular ones, like I said, the actual relics themselves, if you wanted to work on any particular one. There's something major I'm forgetting to mention. The topsoils is the biggest one. But there's something else... and it's slipping my mind. I'm sure the comment section will have something else. They always do. But those are a few things off the top of my head. Hashtag Mondays with Santa hats. Yo, I went looking for a Santa hat at like a dollar store nearby. They didn't have any. I was disappointed. Hello and happy holidays to you and yours. Thank you, and you too. For fun questions somewhat, what is some of the hardest hitting boss attacks in the game? Well, I'm going to exclude things that require LB3. Powder Mark Trail hits really hard. I think one of the hardest hitting attacks, it might be DSR's Tank Buster. The one in Phase 6. So at the end of Phase 6, all of the players get a tether, a fire and ice tether, and then there's a dive bomb right after. The non-tanks need to make sure that they what's it called? That they get the opposite one. So like they get a fire and then they get hit by Hraesvelgur's breath from the dive bomb, and then the other people do the opposite. But the tanks have to stand in front because it does tank buster levels of damage. And that might be one of the hardest hitting, like, single hits in the game. The problem is like, of course, one of the hardest hitting attacks is going to be like a split. You know, it's funny. So we had our tank solo the Mrhappy in Phase 4 of Fru. When you're in Phase 4, they do the Akmorns on the party, and then you group up on a Mrhappy. We had a tank solo it. It's 900,000 damage pre-mitigation, I think. And so they had enough to survive, which shouldn't be I mean, we survived. You can survive Pandora's box without tank LB3, so that really shouldn't be that much of a surprise. But one person surviving that 900,000 damage, that's a pretty big one. Wave Cannon in Phase 6 of top is one of the scariest attacks. I think that might be the single scariest, like, hit. A lot of it's because you take damage right before it. Like, you take the two instances, like it shoots 4 beams, it shoots 4 more beams, and then the wave cannon hits. And the amount of time you have to both mit and heal all of that damage, and like it's one of the scariest hits in the entire game. So that one definitely is up there for me. But it's really hard to think of one because it depends on how many targets it's intended for in the first place. You know, like it's cheating for me to bring up like stacks that you can, solo with a ton of mit. Or something on that capacity. Bonus question, what's the most scuffed first clear of a fight you can remember? Scuffed. I don't really have any scuffed. Maybe it might actually be A8S with Blue Mate. No, because all we did was we were afraid to final sting at the end, but that's about it. And that wasn't even scuffed. I mean, final stinging just kind of looks weird on the surface, but there's nothing scuffed about it at all. No, I can't really like it's probably some like random extreme trial that I've done or like a random duty. It's not even like a hard fight that I imagine would be scuffed or that I can think of that was scuffed. Yeah, no, nothing really comes to mind. Like maybe a death or two, but that's not scuffed. I don't have an answer. That might like that's the only thing that comes to mind is AS with 8 blue mages, and that, again, that wasn't really scuffed. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hey, Happy, long-time watcher, first-time asker. Less of a question, more of a thought. I feel like Stormblood MSQ Ultimate could follow every time we fight Zenos. We'd rather just use that for Endwalker. There's nothing interesting about it. First of all, that's 3 solo instances in a dungeon. Shinryu is the only 8-person encounter in all of that. The only non-8-person encounter they've ever done that in any ultimate is actually phase 0, I call it, of DSR. It's the first phase before you get the checkpoint. And those are technically 2 4-man bosses adding up to 8. I know it's stupid, but that's the only logic. It's technically 3, but one of them is just, pissing off on the side for most of it until you get to the transition into Thornton. So there's no propensity to expect that they would ever do this because they were never made to be done with 8 people in the first place. It's better to just save Zenos for the Endwalker MSQ. Make it so he's like Shinryu and he absorbs Endsinger and becomes Neo Shinryu and plays the music, and then he also like pops out and does like his, mine for the taking mechanics and stuff like that when there's 8. You're better off with stuff like that. If you're gonna like utilize solo instant Zenos, you're probably better off in that capacity doing it. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hello, Happy. Hi, and happy mutual birth month. Hey, happy birth month. Thinking of picking up Metaphor as a self-birthday present, but I worry about the usual Atlas practice of releasing a larger content. Yeah, no, don't worry. I listen, I've already made this joke a billion times. And the thing is, there's like nothing about Atlas games. When you finish them, you're not like, oh, there was something missing. That's clearly going to be DLC. No, they just add something. So it's like... I'm worried about the same thing with Metaphor. Although I feel like there was an interview where they said they wouldn't release a whole nother no. So I remember they said that they don't want to do entirely separate games anymore. They'd rather just do DLC. So it's possible Metaphor gets something, but I don't know. Like Atlas has the practice, so you're perfectly here's the thing. Because of Atlas's practices, you're probably best off just not buying it and waiting. Because they've done it every other time. So until proven otherwise, why would you, why trust it? If you want to hold off until the full version, there's a good chance it'll just be DLC this time. But by then, maybe you can get that plus the DLC at the cost of the original game. So I'd say the thought alone warrants waiting. As much as I liked Metaphor, I think the thought alone warrants waiting. Hashtag Mondays with a Mister who we call Happy. Hi, Haps. Hi. Hope you're doing all right. I'm doing all right. A little tired, but I'm doing all right. The current state of the game, I see more content creators saying that it's going downhill in terms of number of players, and that these people didn't have a house, 14 would experience mass exodus. There are not that many people with a house on 14. Actually, we got lucky Banjo numbers. I think the current estimated active player count is 1.15 million, which is pretty darn good. So, it seems like most people don't care. It's why you don't see me ever making a big hub. Like I'll offer my feedback, but I otherwise don't try to speak on behalf of the rest of the community. There's so many people who are very, very content with treating Final Fantasy XIV as a social hub. Whether that be the nightclub scene or just logging in for free company mates or doing casual stuff. It seems to be, it is the majority. Like whether or not you want to accept it, it is the majority. And a lot of people, even if they don't have a house, just don't unsub because they play just enough to warrant it. But that's not to be... that doesn't mean that one shouldn't criticize aspects that they think would be better for the game. You'll see me do it. A lot of people think I fanboy and have no criticisms. No, I just don't have such a parasitic relationship with 14 that I care enough. Like, I was like, okay, this is my opinion. This is my feedback. And now I'll wait and see if anything changes. And in the meantime, I will play on occasion. I have reasons to play on Tuesdays. Maybe I'll help someone with something, play like 2-3 times a week and be okay with that. Because the time I am on, I'm glad to be playing with people. I'm glad to have some things to do, but I'm not going to, I don't want to make any more. Like, I don't want to farm the EX trials for mounts just yet. I'm going to save that for later. I don't want to work on big fishing, so I won't, but I could if I wanted to. Like, it's like all the objectives that like I technically could do or like even want to do, like the hunt mounts, I just leave them and I go, I'm not like, I don't feel like I need to do that. But the player base is still very, very healthy. Let's not confuse the two things with people who are the loudest voices having criticisms versus the reality of the number of players. Now, there is the other reality that there are less people playing than there were 6 months ago. I mean, that's to be expected. And the reality is also that the relative percent of people who are playing is the fall off is higher. For example, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but let's say there was like 1.4 million people at Dawntrail launch. And you drop to 1.15, that's like what, like a 20-something% drop. That percentage drop would be higher than other percentages drops in the past. And that's for a number of reasons, not as much attachment because Endwalker was the end of a 10-year span, not enjoying the story as much, content cycle being longer. All things that are very valid criticisms that should openly be discussed and shouldn't be shied away from. The whole play other games thing, yeah, I technically do that, but I also don't think it's a valid argument as something against feedback. You know what I mean? I want to know your thoughts on the overall state. I think it could be better. I think there's a lot of things that could be better. I think we've seen that the actual content structure has been very positive in Dawntrail. The story, I know people liked 7.1 a great deal more. The Alliance Raid series is off to a relatively positive start. We've gotten some more functions, another custom delivery NPC. We're getting a new piece of content in the form of Chaotic, and that'll be very telling for the future of Dawntrail. But it seems to be the acceptance that the overall quality is high, but people wish they had more to do, which is why that feedback thing earlier we talked about of releasing the more, easy to access grind style content. As much as grind can be a bit, well, aggravating, just to say the least, it's also good to have something that players feel like they can log in, just spend a little bit of time of and make a little bit of progress on each day, because that keeps people active, that keeps people engaged. They don't have to sit there and do it for 12 hours a day. They just need to feel like they can do something. And that's why I regularly talk about stuff like that. And I think releasing that content earlier is actually the big thing they need to do in 8.0 and will be the thing that I champion for the entirety of Dawntrail. But, let's also accept reality is that a lot of people who play the game don't really care about most of this stuff. They just log in, they like the way their character looks, or they just don't care enough to unsubscribe. Whatever the reason is, it's on them, and the 14 player base is still very, very healthy. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hey, Happy. Hi, your cat demands more treats. No. She's not getting any more. She gets her dental treats. She gets her mouthwash, which she hates. And that's it. If you could force SE to make one change to 14, what would it be? Just update. Dude, they said they're updating the friends list in 7.x, but here's, the funny thing? The friends list thing only upsets me on a fundamental basis. I am so antisocial in game because I'm very much an introvert when it comes to my actual person-to-person interactions. If you meet me at a fan fest or at any other convention, you'll notice that I genuinely don't know how to navigate conversation. So me wanting friends list changes is hilarious, but it's because it's one of those things that other people take notice of. Like the friends list is very, very outdated in so many ways that it's one of those things that I see as an objective flaw and a problem. So I want to see it fixed on virtue alone. It wouldn't change much for me. That kind of thing is never going to make me... I like to think of some changes as things that I appreciate or that other people see and gives them more confidence. But will it keep me subscribed to the game? No, a friends list change is going to keep me subscribed. That would never be the reason I personally would stay subscribed. Oh, they updated the friends list. That's great. I can't wait to not talk to anyone whenever I log in anyway. It's like that. But I know how valuable it is for other people, and so it's a major change I would want to see. I often want changes other people want more than changes I want, or the changes I want I think benefit more people than just me, because quite frankly, you're never going to satisfy me. I'm literally my whole life is sitting behind this desk and playing video games, whether that's Path of Exile for 7 to 12 hours a day or Final Fantasy XIV. I'm going to hyper consume, and you're never going to keep up with me. I'm not an idiot. I know that. I'm not your, I'm just, you just can't appeal to me on that level. So appeal to the people you can, normal people, and make changes like that. That would be better for the overall game. Hashtag Mr. Holly Jolly Mondays. Hey, Haps, how you happen? I'm happin'-eyed. How's Ivy? Chilling right now. Weightlifting question for lat pull downs. I always see people doing them at an angle, pulling the bar towards them. My general experience is pulling the bar straight down. If I'm aiming to increase back strength, which of these forms is correct? Well, the whole leaning back thing is a lot of the time for momentum. You'll see people who lift very heavy weights. I'm not going to call them power lifters, but I guess you could say almost ego lifting in a sense. going for a higher weight because it gives them more leeway, or they can more easily generate momentum. Momentum in weightlifting is very controversial because a lot of people do it, and a lot of people do it and are able to build muscle because they're able to basically push the weight that they do way past the point. You're also way more likely to injure yourself doing that. So I always say, if you can't comfortably do a weight without momentum, then you better have a very specific goal in mind, because you're doing a whole lot of less for potentially not more. I don't know if that's the right way to put it, but I generally recommend just like this, go, hold, up, make sure you get a full stretch. That's the other thing. A lot of people who do momentum, they also like do this and they don't lock out, so they don't get the stretch, so they just go like, That's a hell of an image. Whereas just all the way up, all the way down, all the way up, all the way down, controlled. It's safer, it's good for the muscles, and I would recommend doing that over going for the lean back. And you're not generally, if you really want to like hit your muscles like that, just go do a row. Like, just do this. Why lean all the way back and effectively make it a row, right? Because you just leaned back so far. When they have rowing machines for that, then you just go and you hook up either the wide and you do this, or you go close to the body with the narrow. Just do that instead. Yeah, just if you really want to do a lat pull down, just don't do the thing where you like lean back to either generate momentum or give yourself more leeway so you can pull the weight down more easily. Just go with a lower weight. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hello, Hej. Kumusta? Salam. Those are hello in other languages, I'm assuming, and I'm going to trust that. I have 3 questions. Sure. 1, when, if ever, we'll be able to purchase the weapon upgrade token outside of Savage? I forget when they do that. I think that's coming up. Or was it supposed to? It happens eventually. I just don't remember when. Yeah. And it's normally with nuts. I don't remember if they do it with the 24-man. Dude, I never buy the upgrade mat. So, like, it's one of those things I don't keep track of very well. 2, is there any way to get a second 730 ring outside of Savage? No. People want an option, and I think there should be an option like Criterion or Chaotic. Chaotic is all left side. Maybe Criterion will have accessories. Who knows? But there should be, but there isn't. And 3, I posted a request for photosensitive mode, and a mod responded saying they would forward the request. Is this the only best way to submit these requests? That's the best way. If you ever get a response where somebody says they will forward that, that is literally the ideal response. So you've done everything for that. Photosensitive mode is interesting because, I was thinking you were going to say that they would be like, well, turn your effects down, which doesn't address the problem because it's mechanics that you end up wanting to have the photosensitive mode for. That's the best result you can get. So you've already done it. You've done everything that you're supposed to do. Hashtag Mondays with Mondays, Mr. Happy. I just added the with. Hey, Happy, how you doing? I'm doing all right. You doing all right? I'm doing all right. What would you like to see the most out of potential Octopath Traveler 3? Octopath Traveler 2 is better than Octopath 1 in literally every way, including the joint stories. I'd like to see more joint stories. That's the number one thing that they can still do more of, is give you, like, basically what they do in Octopath 2 is they pare the 8 down into 4 groups of 2 for their joint stories, and then those all coalesce into the final story. I feel like they can still dive deeper into that. They could not just have them into 4 pairs of 2 to have the 8, but you can have more than one of the mix. If you think their stories work together, not just their characters, throw something together that kind of, again, leads into that final piece. That's honestly the only thing I would still do more, because Octopath 2 was almost perfect in that regard. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Schönen guten Tag, Mr. Happy. Good morning. Guten Tag. I don't know what Shonen is. I'm not saying it right. Question is a tiny bit speculative, but Square Enix has stated 14 Mobile will not have a gacha system, so will they monetize the game with glamour items? I mean, there's no reason to expect that there won't be a Mog Station equivalent, like being able to buy cosmetics. We already know the Fantasia is on there because the beta's there now, but I don't think there's any cosmetic store yet. We also know there's a premium pass, which is a monthly sub. The only thing I know for certain that's tied to it is you can put more items up on the market board. I think you can also purchase storage space. So a lot of things very similar. Like technically, buying more market board spaces is like buying another retainer. which you also pay a monthly sub for in, the base game or in the retail game for 14. So it's very similar to how the base 14 is monetized. If you want to change a character appearance, Fantasia. You want to buy this cosmetic that's on the store, go ahead and do it. You want to, put more items up on the market board, it's like a retainer, except that it's the monthly premium sub. You want more storage space, kind of the same thing, but split. I don't know if you can, if the premium sub gives you a storage space on top of that. I don't remember. But yeah, I mean, honestly, it's going to be monetized almost identically to the way that retail is. So at least that's my expectation. We've only seen some of those systems, but I imagine pretty much every way that retail is monetized, that'll be monetized too, and they'll just do that. Technically, there's 2 questions left. The other one I'm just going to hit at the very end because it's it's a joke question, but it's like, I'll acknowledge it still. Hashtag Mr. Monday. Mr. Monday. Jesus Christ. I just had a stroke. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Because I was like reading it, and I was reading it from right to left, even though I read the hashtag at the beginning, and I tried to correct it, and then I was like, but wait. I said I was tired, all right? Hey, I know you said you don't care how your character looks. How many subs would it take for you to Fantasia to another race? 10,000. I'm setting the bar high, because honestly, I want to rate as a Lalafell. And so if someone's going to make me do it, they got to really want to make me do it. 10,000 is obviously dumb. No one should do that. That's stupid. Like, it shouldn't even be 1,000. It should be like 100 or something. It shouldn't even be that much. It's Fantasia. Who cares? Let's change it back anyway. But yeah, no, I like playing as a Lalafell because I prefer to be small. It just makes doing the fights easier, in my opinion. Just being small, just not having any sort of like visual obstruction, like a big ass character in my way. And then there was another one that asked when I'm going to play Clive and get to, rank up in Tekken. That ain't happening. I actually really like Tekken, but no, I'm free as fuck in fighting games, dude. You don't need to see that. Then there was just, there's a few other things in here. Some comments about Pictomancer. Remember, there was one other thing. I remember I scrolled through it and I didn't actually read it. No. So somebody said the bot also flamethrowers when you flamethrower. No, it doesn't. Maybe they're saying that's what they want it to do, but that's just not how it reads. Say hello to the happy people. Somebody asking if buying content's safe. I mean, they log into your account, so it's as safe as it would ever sound. There was also someone who mentioned that the sales making Fru clear rates higher doesn't make sense because people would have sold the other ultimates. We're talking specifically about week 2 clear rates and not, well, because it was only out for 2 weeks when we had that discussion. So UCOB wasn't even beaten for the first time in 10 days. And the sales thing wasn't really a big thing at that time. It was a little bit for Gil, but not much for anything other than that. It really began with UCOB, but that took 10 days. So the week 2 clear rates for UCOB were like non-existent. Most groups started clearing in the second week. And then most groups started clearing in the second week. In DSR, most groups cleared in the second week. Like, basically all the other ultimates, most people were getting their clears in the second weeks. Whereas with Fru, most of the groups were getting their clears in the first week. So, like, if we were to compare week 2 clear rates to week 3 clear rates of the other ones, you actually probably would get a pretty similar curve. Although I think more so now, because Fru's easier to do also. So people probably have a higher churn rate. Whereas with like DSR and Top, which were probably high in demand for that type of thing, it was probably still not as high because it was still fairly tough to do. But yeah, no, that's what we're specifically. We're not referring to the all-time clear rates. We're referring to the week 2 clear rates in particular. We were having that discussion. Just some other stuff about Viper. More people asking for, I guess, Shadowbringers retrospective. I don't know. To me, Shadowbringers is still pretty modern by 14 standards. But I guess enough people want it that I have to consider it. But that's a project for sometime in the new year. That's obviously not a project for before the end of the year. So with that is going to be a wrap for this week's episode of Mondays with Mr. Happy. Thank you for watching. Thank you again for Magic Spoon for sponsoring the video. Of course, click all the links in the description. There will be the Steel Series giveaway, the Magic Spoon link, all the usual stuff, but plus a few extras. But that is a wrap. Thank you. Be sure to like, subscribe, and ask questions for next week's episode of Mondays with Mr. Happy. And I'll see you then. Until then, I bid you adieu. Bye-bye.